So over in Mari, in the project window, let's right click, create new. We'll name this project water trails underscore v004, as I've created 2 versions prior to this. Where it says path, this is where we put our bottle primitive objects. Switch over to channels, we'll disable these other channels and leave base color, as we're only painting a black and white map, so we only need the base color for that. Let's change the resolution to 2K, which will make for faster render times, and it's just a little bit more efficient working like this. Make sure this is 16-bit half float. Go to the color settings. Currently we're working in a linear to sRGB workflow. Let's change this to ACES. And I'll click create project. I'll make sure that we have the objects tab open here. We'll scroll down until we see subdivide. Click subdivide and we'll add 2 subdivision levels. So our geometry is nice and smooth, just like it is in Maya. I'll rename the base to something like, I think, white. And then we'll create another layer called black. I'll switch to the shelf, make sure I've got this 100% hard brush selected. Go back to the layer tab. We'll go to the UV tab now, which is kind of easy just to paint in. And when I've got the brush selected, I'll hold down R on the keyboard and I can scale the brush there by holding down R on the keyboard and left click and dragging. Currently the black is in the foreground, so let's just undo that. Switch the white to the foreground and paint that in just for this outside patch. So the smaller patches are the inside surfaces and the larger patches here and here are the outside patches. And just make sure that's all filled in there. And then I'll hit B to bake. So that's baked down into this layer. And we've actually done this on the black layer, so I'll just rename this to white and then recreate this layer and call it black. That's fine. We'll switch the black to the foreground and I'll just fill in these layers to black. Just like that. We'll hit bake. So what's happening exactly? Well, the outside surface here is 100% white. So that means the surface is 100% rough. And wherever there's painted black, that means the surface is 0% rough. So it's 100% glossy. So what we'll do now is click the new layer. We'll add a new layer called water trails underscore black. I'll switch to the orthographic view. And what we can do now is just start painting in the water trails. I'll go to the shelf tab and we'll do something like hard 25 brush. Just let that load a moment. Click R on the keyboard, left click and drag, and we'll just start painting in those water trails. So at the top I like to make this kind of a little bit thicker. Something like this, and I'm being quite free with it. And as I'm doing this, I'm sort of looking at reference as well. I'm just sort of creating really random looking trails. Remember B to bake before you move. Also, I have edge masking enabled. So if I go to the painting tab, I scroll down, got this mask preview enabled here, so I'll just turn that on. And scroll down until you see edge mask and make sure that's turned on so the green dot appears. And then just you can copy my settings there. And I'm creating water trails varying in different sizes. I just more or less go around the bottle, just doing this. And they don't have to be perfect, just have a bit of fun with it. I think something like that is fine. That's not looking too bad. What we'll do is create a new layer, and this will be sort of like our blending layer, and this will also be painted with black. I'll switch to the shelf tool. I'll grab this felt tip brush. I'll turn the flow right down to something like 0.01, increase the brush size. I'll just sort of start painting in to blend these trails in just a little bit better at the top. And I'm being really rough with this. I'm leaving patches of white in there so we get some variation in roughness, ranging between the black and white values. Something like that. And at the bottom, I'm doing exactly the same thing. Just blending them in a little bit better, whilst leaving a little bit of white at the bottom so we get a bit of breakup and contrast between rough and glossy. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty decent. At this point, we're ready to export. So I'll select all these layers, right click, export flattened, and export selected layers flattened. So okay, our project folder, source images, create a new folder called condensation. We'll remove all of that. We'll call this condensation rough underscore v004 .exr. make sure that we've got the ACES color space set there. Now we can say export all patches, and we'll choose zip1 scanline, which is my usual method for compressing EXRs. So that's created. I'll see you over in Houdini.